What if I told you that this camera is older than the first Macintosh, and yet it still works? The Sharp QC54 was a single-tube color camera designed for consumers who wanted pro-looking home videos. It looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. A mix between a ray gun and a camcorder. There's no electronic viewfinder, no autofocus, but it was the smallest tube camera of its time. The camera tube is actually mounted vertically in the hand grip. The image is captured and sent through an UV-Con tube. If that sounds complex, just know that this tube technology is what gives the camera its signature dreamy glowy look. Before CCD and CMOS sensors, video cameras used imaging tubes to capture light and convert it into an electronic signal. The lens is a 10mm to 30mm f1.9 zoom. On the side, you only get two dials, one for zoom control and the other for color temperature. Simple, clean, old school. Unlike modern cameras, the QC54 doesn't record internally. Instead, it needs an external recorder to capture the signal. Back in the day, you'd have to carry around a giant tape deck just to record your footage. So, how could I use this camera without the original recorder? Well, this particular QC54 is special. It's been expertly modified by a true genius. Max Vega is an incredible inventor who brings vintage video cameras back to life for use in today's digital world. Max removed the camera's old limitation through a bit of Frankenstein-level engineering. He carefully opened it up, reworked the main socket to provide direct power to the camera, and even added a power button and a video output port, transforming it into a standalone functional device. Max is an absolute wizard when it comes to modifying old cameras. I reached out and asked if he'd be willing to send me one of his creations for some experimentation. The audio and video outputs are connected to a mini DVR, which records everything directly on a micro SD card. This setup completely bypasses the need for the original bulky recorder, making the camera fully portable and digital ready. I can now take this 1984 time machine and capture footage just like any modern camera. And here it is, the new UV-Con look in 2025. Immediately, you'll notice it's soft, kinda dreamy, and it has that old school glow around bright spots. This is because the camera's tube technology creates a very unique smearing effect with highlights. If a bright object stays on screen too long, it will leave a ghost image. The colors are muted, and there is a green cast on the footage. And it has this motion blur that you just can't fake with modern cameras. It does weird things with light that makes everything feels nostalgic. Compare it to a modern mirrorless camera and the differences are night and day. But that's the point. This thing has a character that modern cameras are too perfect to recreate. To push this little tube camera even further, I decided to experiment with different optical adapters. First, a fisheye lens that gave some strong vignetting. but the best results came from a 1.5x anamorphic adapter. Normally, the Sharp QC54 captures a squarish image, but by adding the lightweight Blazar Nero adapter, I was able to stretch the field of view horizontally, effectively changing the aspect ratio to almost 16:9. The adapter not only widened the image, but also introduced some of the classic anamorphic character like horizontal flares. So, should you hunt one of these down? If you're into weird, unique visuals and you don't mind doing some surgery, then absolutely. But if you just want a camera that creates clean images, stick to your mirrorless camera. These vintage cameras pop up on eBay for around $20 to $50. But just know that without the Max Vega modification, it's basically a paperweight. Speaking of which, if you're into vintage camera experiments, check out Max's channel. He does some insane modifications, and I highly recommend subscribing. I want to thank him for sending me his creation. You can check the description for the link to his channel. Old tech isn't always better, but sometimes it's just more fun.